Hello and welcome to another episode of 5-Minute Fridays. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how to make hard things easy, or at least how to make them easier. So I think when it comes to doing hard things, we have to look at, first and foremost, why they are hard to begin with. And typically something is challenging because that is your first interaction with it. Things usually aren't hard forever, especially if we can stay consistent and diligent with working on this thing that we want to learn. And I think what we first have to look at when it comes to doing hard things is kind of the learning process that is involved in not making said thing hard. So I'll use an example personally just from my coaching experience with people. And when I'm initially teaching people, usually kind of in the first 3 to 5 sessions, as much as I try to simplify things, there's still new language and there's new movements that people are going through that they have never interacted with before. And because of that, people typically respond in a fashion where they are quite overwhelmed and they're like, this stuff is so hard. And it's not that it is that hard, it's just you haven't upgraded the amount of familiarity that you have with working on this said thing. And the more that you can interact with it, especially in a conscious way, the less seemingly difficult it's going to come over time. So what I say is everything is hard until it's not. And it's when it's not that things start to become more creative and it's more play than anything. And what's interesting about the learning process is initially it's very challenging to try to learn something new or comprehend what's going on unless you just have an inherent gift for said thing. But we're not all gifted in everything. That's just the reality of it. So I think what we have to think about is there's always going to be a baseline of resistance that we're going to have when we're trying to learn something. And it's going to be how we deal with that resistance is going to be how hard said thing is ultimately going to be. And the more that you can overcome that resistance, that inherent kind of like gut check where you're like, this is so difficult, the more that you can overcome that, the less challenging that thing is going to be over time. And it becomes kind of this rate of exponentiality in terms of how we learn. Things are really, really challenging. We're not really learning a ton. Then all of a sudden they start to take off. And that's what I notice with people around usually the 8-week mark. Usually takes anywhere from, let's say, 45 to 60 days of a person actively working at something to really begin to kind of tie all the pieces together. And depends on what you're trying to learn, but I think the more that you overcome that resistance and the more that you can kind of delve into it, not only the easier it's going to be, but the more of a extension of you it's going to become. Things start to happen on a more unconscious level. If you think of a piano player who's been playing the piano for 20, 25 years, that's not a person who's sitting down and playing something that is separate from themselves. They're interacting with something that is truly an extension of them. They know where every single key is. They know how that feels in terms of the amount of pressure that they need to put down. They know when to use the pedal. And it's really them the piano being a part of them rather than them playing the piano. And when it comes to the type of work that I do in terms of coaching people on how to move better, it is the same thing. You're using your body as an instrument to move yourself through space. So that's pretty much all I have to say when it comes to doing things that are hard. Do them until they are no longer hard. And that's it. That's going to be all for today's video. If you liked it, like it. If you want more content like this, subscribe. And also share this content with people who you think would find value in it. And until next time, make sure you are prioritizing and then you are optimizing. We'll see you then. Peace.